We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Talking this morning about medical marijuana in Tennessee and its future. With us is David Hairston, Safe Access Tennessee, a proponent of that idea. It's nice to have you on, sir. I appreciate it.
Excellent.
We should say, a lot of people are like, well, you know, the only people really pushing for medical marijuana and legalization are these liberals out there who just want to get stoned all the time. One of the strongest proponents in the Tennessee legislature is about as far right as you can get.
Absolutely. Representative Jeremy Faison.
Yeah, okay. I mean, conservative, Christian, Republican, and yet he sees the value in this and supports it.
Well, I hope so, because I'm a very conservative Christian Republican.
As well.
You know, I attended the Republican National Convention last year as an elected alternate delegate.
Okay, so it's not just all these Democrat stoners, if some people want to say that. It is becoming bipartisan, is it not?
It's broadly bipartisan. This thing polls at 80%.
So the lawmakers that are against it, they must be the ones kind of more in the middle.
Absolutely.
That are, what, wishy-washy, fearful of alienating some of President Trump's supporters who maybe are behind, you know, what his attorney general's doing?
Well, I have to say, the Trump supporters I know in Middle Tennessee and East Tennessee
many of them support it.
Are 100% behind this. This is the thing. This is the political aspect that is so disappointing that my fellow Republicans are not recognizing. This is popular with the Trump voter. And in many locations, take Lewis County, Hohenwald, where Hohenwald's at, 80% Trump vote. It is overwhelmingly popular there. There are no districts in this state where this does not poll above 50%. In Republican-only polls, we consistently get above 60%, and in broad-based public polls, we consistently hit 80 or 81%, just as the Vanderbilt poll identified. The legislature is, in fact, a lagging indicator of public support.
Okay.
And now is the time. This is, a lot of people use this tagline, now's the time. Now's the time to call your legislator and put pressure on these folks.
That's how you get their attention.
Absolutely.
They're worried they're going to lose their seat because it becomes that big of an issue. Maybe it's not yet for them. You know, what I worry about is coming the campaign time, there's a candidate running who's gotten behind this, and then some opponent just can say, well, he or she wants to legalize marijuana. And the constituents, without doing any thinking of their own, just go, that's horrible, and just vote against them. You know, you know what I mean? It's a tagline, and it's enough to damage someone politically. Well, he's in favor of legalizing marijuana. Well, and then all of a sudden the voter's like, well, I'm not voting for him, and it destroys that candidate because they're not smart enough to figure it out for themselves.
Here's the thing I see changing with the electorate, though. The public is catching on to this.
I would hope so.
Now, when you ask the question, are you more or less likely to vote for your legislator who will support the Medical Cannabis Only Act, it's overwhelmingly pro, way above 50%.
Well, then maybe that gets the attention of the lawmakers.
This election cycle coming up, recognize sheriffs are up for election in 2018, and many of these prohibitionists who are opposing us in the legislature are up for election in 2018, and they're going to find a very different electorate in place. One can, you know, after I think the 2018 cycle, it will be impossible to maintain a position by being anti-medicine. Now, I don't support recreational,
right. Again,
and neither do a majority of Tennesseans. They, you know, there is not a majority support for but for medicinal. To give that to that little baby who's suffering from seizures.
I just don't see how someone can say no to that. I simply don't.
For the older person who has Alzheimer's or is entering dementia, remember, the Department of Health and Human Services has a patent on CBD for its neuroprotective qualities, which means it will help traumatic brain injury, Alzheimer's, ALS. These are diseases where this medicine works.
Let's go next to Faye. Hello, Faye.
Good morning.
Good morning, Faye. Go ahead.
Okay, Nick, I would like to quickly tell you two personal stories about CBD that has affected my family. First of all, my 48-year-old son-in-law was struck with lupus, and in a time frame of like 2 years, he started taking opioids and any kind of pain medication to relieving his symptoms. Lupus is a very, very hard, painful disease.
Absolutely.
And in a year and a half, he was on morphine constantly. Of course, it stopped him from driving. He really just couldn't function at all. His wife is a nurse of 20 years. They went out to Colorado and researched the CBD, and it helped him so tremendously. When they came back to the area, they opened a CBD store. They got a lawyer and they made sure that they were walking through all of the legal aspects, and they opened a CBD store. When they first opened it, I was myself going and having injections in my spine. I had bulging and herniated disc in my spine, and I was going to have shots, and I had had so many of those shots. I had weight gain. I had just all the side effects from the shots, the injections. And the doctor told me he'd give me all of them that he could, and the next step was to burn the pain receptors from my spine. And I wasn't ready to do that if I could help it. So I talked to this young couple that opened the store, and she said, we have something that will help you. And she gave me some balm. It's just like you're being gay or something.
I've used it. What do you think? Did it help?
Oh, yes, it did. I've been doing that now for about 8 months.
Listen, I'm sorry I had to cut you off because we have to go to the commercial break, but I was telling you, I got some of that balm at MTSU too. I don't know, the placebo effect sometimes works for me, but it seemed to help. Listen, we have to go to the break. When we come back, lots of phone calls, but I want to make this, and thank you for sharing that story, Faye. If you're someone out there that's still on the fence, or maybe just flat out against medical marijuana, I think you know how I'm just sharing my opinion here on here, but how he feels. But I'd love to hear from you, and I respectfully would like to hear your point of view, and maybe we can ask you what your concerns are. If you are, we'll put you right at the front of the list, because I'd like to hear from someone out there who still has some questions and concerns, and I think a lot of people do, and that's fair. If you'd like to ask a question, or we could address it for you, call us and let us know, and we'll put you at the front of the list. We'll take a break and be back with more right after this.